Yeah, I try not to. I try not to go down the rabbit hole of 6 hours later. I start with I got to find out about the Owl Mountains, and then 6 hours later, I'm like, oh, this is the way to make the best rotini in the world. Because you can easily,
Yeah.
The internet, you can go all over the place. So a lot of times, if I'm on a roll, I'll put in a note on there in red and then say Owl Mountains. That kind of thing. When I've done, especially when I've done those monster books, I have 11 of them out with Severed Press. I have one more to go, and every one of those is in a specific locale. So for me, when I'm pitching books to them, I'm like, all right, you want a treasure book, okay? And I remember from watching a history show about the Nazis stealing all the treasure, and then supposedly there's this train that was buried in a mountain somewhere in Poland in the Owl Mountains. And I'm like, all right, there's my story, and I'll throw some monsters in, and we'll be good.
Yeah.
So I try not to bog it down with a ton of research, and I don't, as a reader, I don't like when I read something and I'm like, oh, this guy basically did 40 hours of research on scuba diving, and now I have 6 chapters of which way the nozzles have to turn and all this. I'm like, that's boring. I don't give me the quick, he's running out of air. I get that concept. So let's just go with that. So I try not to overdo it. It's also, Google Earth is also a lot of fun, just to go and wander around. I did a book for them in the San Dung, the caves that were discovered in Vietnam like 30 years ago. It's like the world's largest cave system. And I was like, how cool is that? But they have a website, and you go on and you literally walk through caves. And there's like one corner. I'm like, oh, there's a lake here, like out in the middle of nowhere. There's where I'm going to set my story. So a lot of times it's just like, yeah, I know I'm going to write this. I know the location. Now I just got to come up with some characters and throw them in the lake or whatever.
Yeah. Hey, Don, I remember we did interviews. You're the artist, and you were talking about how you create those things behind you there, those pictures and paintings. And you were saying that, and we were talking about like Michelangelo and Da Vinci and all that. And you said that if I'm doing something and it's not a one-day project, it could be one of those portraits behind you there. And I get it started, and I have a bad day or something really is screwed up in my life for a day, and you go back at it, and you said that it can change the tone. That day can change what happens the rest of that artwork there.
Yeah.
And I was trying to equate that to Armand a little bit, because he kills a lot of people in his books in different ways. And I'm thinking to myself, if Armand has a bad day, and he's a little bit like you, Don, and he's like in chapter 3, and he's pissed off about something, he could kill a couple more people that he might not have thought about killing. But is there anything like that, you guys, that correlates to what I'm talking about?
Well, I think being creative, and I'm sure it's you're creative, so it's your mood, it's everything around you. It's you in your mind going, this is the painting in my mind, and it depends on what kind of mood, what kind of day you've had, what kind of mood you're in. You're fighting with somebody, you're having a great day, whatever. And it really, for me, that really correlates. If I'm having a bad day, if I'm arguing with people and something, I tend to write like 5 or 6 projects at once. So I'm not just writing a book. I'm writing 3 or 4 stories. I'm writing a couple of different books, a novella. So it's like I wake up in a bad mood, and I'm like, all right, which one of these stories am I getting ready to kill somebody? Yep. Or, hey, I'm in a great mood. Let me write something. Let me write something really nice for these characters. So, and I also listen to music. As soon as my wife goes to work, man, I'm cranking up death metal and black metal and all kinds of crap she doesn't like. And I mean, it's just, I mean, the house is just blasting with that stuff. And that also sets a mood. And then all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I'm in a good mood today, and I'm going to write something. I'm going to write some funny interactions and stuff. And I'm putting on like 90s pop punk, Bowling for Soup or something like that. some kind of band that just makes me laugh, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna listen to Motley Crue and Bon Jovi and Poison, because that's kind of, it sets the mood in my mind to do it. And it's definitely, as a creative person, it's hard to control that sometimes. It's hard to control the world around you, and I've learned over the years to use that to my advantage, to realize that I know I'm going to have to argue with one of my kids because they're going to call me up for something dumb or whatever, or, hey, I wrecked the car, whatever, and I'm going to have to deal with this as a parent in my real life, which I don't like to deal with. So that annoys me enough, and I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna write something that, I use those emotions.
Wow, it's like you spin it in your favor. I didn't see that come. That's pretty interesting. Don, do you ever, like, in this situation we had talked about just now, do you ever look back and go, oh, what the hell happened there? I didn't like what I did yesterday when, I almost broke my leg or something like that. Is it ever?
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, Armand, I'm not sure if you find this, but it's kind of like the projects start to take on a life of their own. You have this idea that you have working on them, and then kind of these life events come in, and you go, oh, okay, well, I can incorporate that in this way, or you know, the painting maybe feels like it should go in this direction or that direction. So I'm not sure if, books feel like, hey, I had this plan, but maybe it should go this way because of whatever. So, that's, and again, like Armand, I'm working on 4 or 5 different projects at once. So it is, if I'm in a good mood, I'll go work on the, a little bit cleaner, happier, maybe nature environment, or if I'm in a bad mood, I'll go work on a grungy cityscape or something like that. So no, and then same thing, cranking up the metal music, or having something fun on in the background.
Right. Yeah.
It just totally sets the tone, and it's nice because you are able to create that space for yourself, and a lot of people don't have that ability, and it's fun. And that's just part of the process too. It's
you guys both have that ability too. I'm struggling with this book over the last 3 years, in and out, and it may never even get done. I got ideas now. I'm changing things around, but I realize that I'll never be in the league of Armand, or I'm not an artist anyway, Don. You know me, but you know what my favorite artwork is, right? Do you remember from the interview? My wife always tells me it's that famous portrait of the dogs sitting around the table playing poker.
Yep.
Classic.
So of course. I learned about art when I went into Don's place over there, and he was showing me around his place. But what he does too, Armand, is he does 3D type of configurations. I don't know if those are resins or whatever they are.
All sorts of resins, epoxies, all kinds of plastics. It's funny because you say that, you don't enter the same league. People always end up putting up their own limitations. I don't know if I'm able to do something until I just say, this is it. I'm going to do it. And I just go in head first. And then guess what? 3 years later, you're doing it for a job, or, you're incorporating it in some different way into some project, and then eventually it just makes your way in, or it makes its way into your daily kind of routine. So
I also find people, especially who are they want to write, just get it done. That could be the shittiest story ever, and it. Get to the end, because that really, really helps any writer to go, I finished this. Your first million words are garbage. I don't know how many, whatever that translates for Don, like, for your first million brushstrokes are garbage, something like that. But that's the experience, and that's the practice. I didn't sit down at 18 and go, I'm going to write this book and complete this book. I wrote tons of awful books. They all got trunked. At some point, some of the ideas that were better, I cannibalized and wrote new things. I mean, stuff I put out in 2009, I'm not happy with. I cringe when somebody goes, oh, I picked up your first Dying Days book. And I'm like, oh my God, I wrote that in 2007. That is an awful book for me, because thankfully, I feel like I've gotten better as a writer. and I've finished so many projects, so many short stories, so many things that for me, I always like the challenge, like in that the Nazi book, the
Mm-hmm.
challenge was I want to write shorter chapters. I want to write, it's a novella. I want to write shorter, punchier chapters and go. And then there's books where I'm like, you know what? I want to write I want to write like 7,000 word chapters. I want to write these big. I only want to have 15 or 20 chapters in this book. And for
Yeah.
me, that's the fun of it. That's the challenge. Can I do this? And you don't know if you can. And it doesn't always work, but at least you gave it a shot and you tried it. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, when I don't have a lot of experience with your stuff, Armand, but even the Stark Lake book, which had longer chapters, not super long chapters, but you had consistently about the same size chapters. But when I went to the Lost Nazi Gold Train, I love this book here, and it has short, punchy chapters. But I like the material too. It's doubly good for me because you could have short, punchy chapters and not like what you're reading. But
Right.
That really connected. Back to inspiration and such. There's an author out there that I've read so many of his books. I don't know if you guys know him. His name is Ken Follett, Follett. He's a European writer. I think he's from England or something. But I wrote a couple emails to him thinking, well, maybe this guy will answer me. But he wrote one book. I think it's called Far and Away. It was one of the first ones that I read. And what intrigued me was he started the book by saying kind of casually that my wife and I bought this little house in a village with some woods around it. We got some property here, and there's a big silo here. And I was doing some gardening with a shovel, and I hit something, metal or rock. I pulled it up, and it was a ring. As he described it, like a horseshoe ring, maybe copper. I don't know what, but he said that he says he was figuring out like what is this, and he cleans it off, and he's trying to figure it out, and then he finally realizes that the property that he bought here was where there was like coal miners that were slaves at one time in that area, and what they put for the slaves is they put this ring around their neck, probably with a tag of their name. And then he started the book and he says, if this ring could just talk, man, he had me just like that. And then he went into the story. It was a great book in my mind. So I wrote to him and I said, Ken, that was really neat the way, did that really happen? Wrote like fragmented sentence me. No, Joe, it was invented. Oh, jeez, he just invented that, and it had me just like that.
Yeah.
It's really, it's still incredible to me how people come up with ideas and things like that. Plus, it was a good book too. It wasn't a drag or anything like that. Armand, how do you co-write with somebody? I saw you talking on some of the podcasts, and I think you will write sometimes with more than one person in a book. I know you do books with one person and yourself.
I've done a trilogy with 3 other authors years ago, and we would each write a chapter. And again, there's no outline, so it's your idea. You write the first chapter, and then we'll take the second, and then you'll take the third, and you'll take the fourth, and we write it that way. I've written.
It's all. I'm sorry. It's all one story, though.
It's all one story.
Okay.
It's all one story. It's literally here's the premise, here's the opening chapter, and then somebody go and write, and we ended up doing 3 books called Hellmouth. So it was the Hellmouth trilogy.
That's got to be challenging a little bit, I would think. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's because you got to look at what the other person wrote, and your mind might be somewhere else, and then
I'm reading 3 other people's chapters.
Yeah.
And trying to see the flow of the story, and then what comes next, or what can I throw in here to screw everything up of something that you would not think. In that series, it was we had a lot of really absurd things. It's like this, guy's trying to make a movie, and he opens up like this, Lovecraftian, like the Necronomicon, and all this monsters come out, and we had like a I think we had like a 50-foot Denzel Washington or something. Like we're just writing weird stuff. And one of the guys wrote this character that he's absolutely loved. And then we get like 3 chapters, and then I go and then I kill that character, just to be a total dick. I was like, and they died like in such an unheroic way, and he was so mad at me because he had the next chapter, and he was like, "Why'd you do that?" I'm like, "Because it was just we're writing a fun story. This is, But I've written a lot of different books with people, like Tom Duffy, who I mentioned before. He was like, what, I want to write a heist book. I said, yeah, me too. I said, well, let's write one together. And he's like, yeah. I said, I like your writing. I've read your books. You only have a couple books out. I like them, and I guess you like my writing. And so I said, you write the first chapter, and then I'll write the second chapter. And he's like, all right, well, do we need to come up with something? I said, no, write the first chapter, and I'll write the second chapter.
Mm-hmm.
I said, that's all we're going to do. I said, but we're going to do it. I said, the way I write is it's as long as we get to that 3rd page on a Google Doc, and we do about 1,300 words a chapter. I do 50 chapters when I do my crime thriller stuff. I said, so at some point, one of us has to write an extra chapter, because if you're writing one, you also have to write the last chapter. Those are the rules. That's it. Anything else?
That's it. You to come out.
And we
come out different than we ever started thinking about it. Wow.
And halfway through that first book, I'm like, you know what? This is more than one book. So we ended up doing 3 books. And then 2 of the characters from that series we really liked. And again, you're just creating just random people, and like, all right, these are a couple of minor characters who we really like. So we're like, well, at the end of this, they go to Mexico. So let's write that story. Let's write a treasure hunting shipwreck trilogy, which we did. And then after that was my book, and then my trilogy. And then he said, all right, you know what? I want to write a private investigator. I want to write something a little darker. I said, all right, well, then you give me the first chapter and we go from there. So then we wrote 3 books, which will come out next year. Mm-hmm. And again, a character in those 3 books I really liked. And I'm like, you know what? We can continue this story without you having to have read the 3 previous books. So now we're writing, that one. And so, I'll have rapid release January, February, March, April, May, and June next year of just those books.
Wow. Hey, Don, have you ever done a artwork with another person or not?
Sure have. Actually have a book coming out this holiday season. It's a huge departure. It's a children's book.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you did all the artwork. It's about a dog, I think.
Yeah, Great Dane that has a Christmas Christmas wish granted. So no, it was something that was really fun to do. He actually was the Yankee Candle Santa last year. He runs his own the author. I'm sorry, the author is. And he was a childhood friend, and ended up coming back to me, and he's like, "Hey, I see that you're doing artwork. Let's do something together." So it turned into a nice thing. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I saw the preview of that, and I almost fell off my chair. I go, Don's doing the child's book. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that'll be coming out when now?
It should be this holiday season. So just a couple of weeks, actually.
We'll get it on Amazon or all the places, I assume. Oh, good for you. Yeah. I have to look. What's the name of it, by the way? I saw the cover thing.
Willow's Wish.
Okay. All right. There you are.